So here is the TWHL map of the month for June 2011, which is DE TWHL, no, DE TWHL 2011 by Archie. So, some key points about this map. Basically, it was designed for, well, to be the finale for the Counter-Strike tournament, which TWHL held around June 2011, I can't remember the exact date. But basically it wasn't finished in time, so Archie just carried on with it a bit after that and finished it up and released it as a standard Counter-Strike Source 1.6 map. So let's talk about the architecture. It's very good considering it's built in Gold Source. Archie's clearly had a lot of experience with the Source engine, so he's had no difficulty piling the detail in, but he certainly whines about it enough. Oh, I missed the Source engine. But regardless of that, he's actually got quite a lot of detail on the map, and it looks very nice. I can imagine the entity limit was probably hit a couple of times before he could actually release it, but there you go. Some of the corridors that are in the map are a bit lacking in the detail area because, well, they were probably just sort of thrown in at the last minute.
They're functional.
Regardless, they're crap.
Corridors are forgetting for me to be, they're functional.
Yeah, but then, you know...
Fuck you, move on.
Fine, they're functional. That's a good word, we'll go with functional. So the custom texturing in the map, very good. Archie obviously has some kind of flair when it comes to creating textures. Nicely detailed. I believe he actually used a technique where you create textures which are twice the size of the standard Gold Source texture and then you reduce them in game, which can improve lighting, but we'll come back to lighting later on. He also makes use of some nice techniques for including decals on textures, as opposed to using the actual Gold Source system, which is a bit crap when you're trying to get some fine detail in using decals. Some of the textures, though, in fact most of the textures, just seem to have been blatantly stolen from the core.
I fucking made them.
Okay.
You stole them for your maps in the fucking core.
Shush. Play your game. What are you playing?
Core.
Fair shout. So lighting in the map is fairly basic and bland. It resorts to using mostly just different shades of white and grey lighting. Not a lot of variation, considering how long you worked on the map for. I thought there would have been a bit more flair in there with the lighting to complement the architecture and texture work, but apparently not. There are a few rendering issues here and there as well, which may have been overlooked or simply...
Gold Source is shite.
It's functional. So let's talk about ambience, something that is often overlooked in these sorts of maps. Actually, he's done a very good job with ambience. You know, there are sounds of the truck engines idling in the parking area. The computer room makes some interesting bleeps and bloops with the servers. Generally, very good use of ambience. In fact, I believe it's one of the only map of the month so far this year that's actually made use of ambience. So, very nice. Gameplay is reasonably balanced. For Counter-Strike 1.6 map, this is very important. Obviously, you need to give both teams a fair advantage over the other. Unfortunately, one of the techniques that's been used is making the door into the building at the counter-terrorist spawn, or is it the terrorist spawn?
It's counter-terrorist spawn.
The counter-terrorist spawn. Basically, one of the doors just opens very slowly to slow them down a bit.
CS Assault does that. That's an official map.
Yeah,
that's a legitimate way to balance gameplay.
But CS Assault is like the shittest official map. The map has a fairly interesting and complex layout for such a small map, which is nice to see. It's not just a kill box with a couple of bomb sites in, which happens more often than not when mapping for Counter-Strike 1.6. There's some nice choke points where you can have heated close quarters battles. The streets as well act as some very nice open areas where you can make use of the rifles and sniper rifles in the game. But of course, again, there's obviously still whining about using Gold Source.
Shite engine.
It's functional. Overall, it's a very good Counter-Strike 1.6 map, and although it didn't meet the deadline for what it was created for, it's still a good amount of fun to play with a few friends. Do you want to add anything?